Hey everyone, it's Cassandra with Pecan Porch Boutique. I am here with a couple of more upcycles for you guys. So hang around and let's see what we got going. I think we're going to start out with project number one being this extremely old, kind of rusty kettle. It's been sitting in my yard, y'all, for so long. I had flowers planted in it. But it's one of those old, I'm calling it a kettle. I guess that's what it is. You remember how, growing up, we had this speckled type kitchenware, pans and that kind of stuff. So that's kind of what this is. It's old. It has some rust on it. You can see where I poked holes in the bottom so that my plants could drain the water. So this is where it's been sitting for a number of years. You can tell too by the little handle, the little wooden handle. I don't think it was going to last another season. But anyway, this is our first makeover. But I want to say before I get started, y'all, that I am following the direction of a lady from Ginger Chick Rehab. She is so good at doing her milk paint. So I am following her direction. So the first thing I did with this is I took it out of the garden and I cleaned it up really, really good. And then, so I'm going to go in now and I'm going to sand it. Just with some sandpaper, just to kind of take some of the shine off so that my milk paint will have something to stick to. And then after that, I am going to take it out and I am going to give it a couple of coats of shellac. And we are going to go from there. Alright, now we're ready to mix up our milk paint, y'all. I'm going to be using the color Curry and Sweet Pickins milk paint. And then I'm also going to add a scoop. I know, right? I'm mixing now because I seen her mix and I was like, you can mix this. So I did 2 scoops of Curry and then I did a scoop of Love Bug. And again, this is Sweet Pickins milk paint and it's a powder paint. And it's an equal part paint to equal part water. So I'm just going to mix up my water with my powder, stirring it up really good. You're supposed to stir it up for 2 minutes or so. And then kind of sit it to the side and let it thicken up. Okay, so you saw me take a baby wipe and I sanded all that. I got all that sanding dust off of it. And now, y'all, I'm going to be using Sweet Pickins beeswax bar. And so the wax kind of adds, it kind of acts like a resist, kind of keeping the paint from really sticking in certain places is what it's supposed to do. Now, you can use a plain old candle. From the dollar store. It does the same thing. So here I am with the beeswax bar and I am going to be putting that all over my kettle, all around. I'm just going to go all around with the beeswax bar and I'm going to put it on my kettle before I use my milk paint. And I'm going to use that beeswax bar in between every coat of paint. And I think I ended up doing 2 coats of paint on this piece. So yeah. So beeswax bar on the body of the kettle and on the top. So once you've let your milk paint sit and thicken up for about 10 to 15 minutes, then you go back, give it another quick stir because it does get thicker and it kind of settles. Give it another quick stir and you're ready to use it to paint with. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm taking my milk paint now and I'm just going over my kettle, right over the beeswax bar, right over the shellac, everything. What I'm hoping to get this time, y'all, I am hoping to get some crackle, maybe some chipping, But what I'm not hoping to get is, y'all remember, I don't know if y'all saw the video where I had the whole catastrophe with the canisters. I'm hoping that everything doesn't chip off, because again, I'm following the direction of Ginger Chick Rehab, and her stuff always turns out so good. So here I am. I'm just going to go over with my first coat of paint over my kettle. That's what you see me doing here. You can also see that the first coat of paint is kind of almost translucent, so it does not go on, very thick or give good coverage at all. Not that first coat. But the second coat typically comes in and kind of grabs onto that first coat and really kind of pulls it all in so that you get good even coverage. Okay, I'm just going into fast mode on this one. On that second coat, I did another coat of the beeswax bar, and here I am going in with that second coat of the milk paint. And I think, again, I ended up only doing 2 coats on this because I did get really good coverage. And I did get some crackling, not really much. You'll kind of see on the top. And I kind of had to kind of promote some chipping. You'll see I'm coming in now with my sandpaper. So, but it didn't all chip off, y'all. It did not chip off. So I was so excited at this point. But I did come in with my sandpaper, and I just wanted to kind of get a little bit more chipping, actually, because I really didn't get too much. I did get some crackle, and we'll bring that out later on in the video when we use some of the oil wax. Okay, I want to add just a little bit of typography to my kettle. And so I'm going to be using IOD's Insignia mini stamp set. This is such a cute set, y'all. There you get like 4 little envelopes, individual envelopes with some frames, and you also get like letters. You get the uppercase letters, and you also get the cursive letters. And it's just really, really cute. So I've never used it before, so that's what you see me doing here. I'm just taking my sandpaper and kind of going over lightly the letters. And then I also learned this trick from Ginger Rehab. So I'm going to spell out the word garden, and I am going to use some packing tape to stick onto my letters, and then I'm going to just kind of very carefully turn over just the edge of the packing tape and leave some of the sticky. It works really well when you don't put it onto a piece of plastic that you have to wrestle it away from. So that's what I'm doing here. I turned over just a little on each end. That kind of makes a little handle for you, but you leave some of the sticky, and this is perfect, y'all, for a round piece or whatever you're working on that's round. I mean, I thought it was ingenious idea, and I saw Ginger Rehab do it first. So this is where I'm going to put that. I spelled out the word garden. I've gotten my ink. I've stamped it up in black. Now I'm just going to take that tape that has those letters spelled out on it, and I'm going to put it in that little area, And I still have that sticky, a little bit of that sticky part, so I can just lay it down now and really just focus on using my fingers to get it all pressed on. And it turned out really well. That is like a hack like no other, y'all. So don't forget to use that packing tape hack if you're working on a round, some type of round surface. I mean, you can use it for non-round too, but perfect for round surfaces. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to use some of the elements from IOD's Sarah Featon's Botanicals. Because I wanted to give, since I wrote the word garden on here, I wanted to give some florals to this kettle. Because I really think that it turned out really good. I love the color of the milk paint combined together. So so I'm just going to pick out a few of these elements from Sarah Featon's Botanicals. It's from IOD Spring 2025, I believe, from just this spring. And I am going to transfer some of those onto this kettle. And for transferring, y'all, it's really simple. You just peel the back off of your transfer, lay it down. Each transfer comes with one of those transfer sticks. And I kind of like to go all over my transfer first once I take the back off of it. And then I just take my transfer stick and I slowly lift that plastic while I am transferring down. It's a really simple process. You'll get so used to it if you haven't tried it yet. And sometimes I hear people say, "Oh, my transfers are so pretty. I don't want to use them." Y'all better use those transfers and put them on something pretty. Make something pretty. There's no need of you buying them. I mean, they're not that inexpensive. So there's no need of you paying that kind of money and not using them. And then once you start using them, you will become hooked anyway. So go ahead and start using them. Okay, so that's what I'm doing here. I've kind of moved over into fast mode. So I'm going to get all of these, the ones that I think are pretty, onto this kettle. Oh, and I forgot to say that before I actually put the transfers on the kettle, I took it outside again and I gave it a couple of coats of the weather defense because the lady over at Ginger Chick Rehab, she uses weather defense. And again, y'all, I am following her directions to see if I too can get a good result from the milk paint. And so far, so good. So now that I have all of my transfers on, I'm coming in with some Sweet Pickins Dark Wax. And this is where it really picks up those cracks and those chips. And I loved how this turned out, y'all. So I'm just putting my oil wax on and then I'm taking a shop towel and wiping it back. Okay, time to take a look back at our plain old little kettle from the garden. And now look how it turned out, y'all. I am so excited about how this turned out. I followed her directions and it worked. Not to say that it's going to work every time because again, milk paint is unpredictable. But this time it really worked. And I left some of that speckled just so that it could show what it used to be. All right, y'all, let's move on. It is time for project number 2. I have had this little iron. It's like for storage, sitting around for, I know, several years now. And so I am going to upcycle it by giving it some milk paint as well. So first thing I am doing again is I am going to sand it down and take some of that the market sheen off of it where they made it because it's kind of shiny, and that will give my milk paint something to stick to. Once I get it all sanded up and wiped off, then again I take it outside and I give it a couple of coats of shellac. Okay, so this time I'm going to be using some of Sweet Pickins milk paint in Sweetie Jane and Gumdrop. I'm going to mix those two together. I really think I'm cooking with hot water now, don't I, y'all? Mixing Sweet Pickins milk paint and everything. All right, let's see what happens this time around, though. One of the mistakes I made, and you don't want to do this if you can help it, is I put my milk paint in. Again, it's a powder paint. You're supposed to mix equal parts paint and water, but you can kind of change that up a little bit if you want to. But once you start putting your powder in and then you go back and put your water in, make sure you put all of your powder in at once, and don't add powder after you started mixing, because you'll get lumps. And that's what I did. I realized that I only had a little bit of that Sweetie Jane left, so I thought, okay, I'm just going to go ahead and add it back in here. But I should have added it in the first place. So I did get a lot of lumps, which, that's not too bad. But just in case you don't want to get too many lumps, or maybe I didn't stir it up as well either. But anyway, I had to contend with some lumps, but it was okay. Okay, so once I get that, it's set aside for about 15 minutes and it thickened up. I gave it another quick stir, and now I'm just going to go into painting. And it really came out pretty. It turned out to be this really pretty minty looking green, y'all. And that blue tape that you see, I wanted to keep, the iron. I wanted to try not to get any paint on it. So I put a little bit of the painter's tape around it. But I think I ended up giving this little iron 2 coats of the milk paint, letting it dry in between. I did not use any of the beeswax bar. This is just shellac initially and milk paint now. And I think I ended up giving it 3 coats. I can't remember. 2 or 3 coats, I can't remember. But I'm painting it with the lid on, because I know that if I were to take the lid off and paint the bottom, that I don't think it would fit back at all. So, okay, so now, y'all, I decided, okay, I must have really thought that I was really, just really knowledgeable here about the milk paint. So I came in because I didn't get that much crackle and I wanted some. And so I decided, okay, well, let me hit it with my heat gun. Well, the heat gun kind of gave me more than I bargained for. You can see a lot of chipping, a lot. But it still all did not crack off, y'all. So I just start by taking it off with my finger, let the chips fall where they may. And then I got a little bit of the sandpaper that I was using, and I'll just take off everything that's loose and flaking. And again, that's the unpredictability of milk paint. So now you can add things like Extra Bond if you don't like that chippy, aged patina, and it will keep it from chipping. But I like chippy, so I do like that look, that aged look. So now I want to once again add some typography. So here I am again. I'm using that packing tape hack, and I've added the word laundry. And this time though, y'all, I laid my letters out on my cutting board so that I didn't have to wrestle to try to get it off. And I just kind of folded over the packing tape on the end, but leaving some sticky. And then I just stick it onto the iron, use my fingers to go over every letter and get a good stamping image. I'm telling y'all, try that hack. You're gonna love it too. Okay, so I got that on there, the word laundry, and then once I got that on there, I went out, took it outside, and once again I'm gonna use some Weather Defense to clear coat it with. I went back to my IOD transfers and to the Home Sweet Home transfer actually, and I found these little transfers that say wash, press, and dry. I think that's what they say. And they have these kind of little old-timey, like a clothespin and a bucket with some bubbles coming out of. And so I'm going to use those as little small transfers on top of this iron. So that's what you see me doing here. The same technique about transferring with your transfer stick, only these were so tiny. I mean, I really didn't have to transfer. I didn't have to push very much, but that's what I'm doing here. I'm gonna take these, I'm gonna cut them away from there. They were kind of in this frame and maybe meant to go long ways, but you can cut your transfers up and use them how you want to. So I'm just gonna cut each of them up, and I'm gonna place them in different spots along the top of this iron. A quick look at what they look like on top once I get them all on there. And then I'm just going to take, again, my little sanding pad and just kind of scuff them up a little bit so that they will fit in with the look of the iron. I didn't want them to look too new. And then once again now, I'm going back with my Sweet Pickins oil wax to seal up everything and kind of pull out some of those crackles and those cracks that the milk paint made. All right, y'all, here's a look back at what our little tin iron looked like before, and here's a look forward. I think it turned out pretty cute. I mean, look at it has the transfers on top. I got some crackling, and that dark oil wax did bring that out on the top. And I did get some chipping as well. So I did like that project. All right, y'all, our next project, my sister found this cute little pear for me, I think at Goodwill. And I'm not sure what it's made out of because it has some weight to it. But anyway, I thought I really did make up too much of that last batch of milk paint that had the Sweetie Jane and the gumdrop. Was it gumdrop? I think so. This color. So I had some left over, so I thought, well, that's perfect for a pear. So that's what I'm doing here. You'll see me paint this pear up. I'm going to give it 3 coats of the milk paint. And before I started painting, once again, I kind of scuffed it up some, cleaned it off. I took it outside and gave it a couple of coats of shellac. So that has been done already before you see me doing this paint here. All right, so 3 coats of that milk paint mixture. And then I decided that I was going to continue using the Seraphine Botanicals to also put some of that floral onto this pear. And so I'm starting out here just by taking one of the transfers, giving it some relief cuts. I kind of had to chase this pear all over the table, y'all, because I mean, for one thing, I didn't have it sitting in anything so that it wouldn't roll, but it's kind of hard to fit these transfers around, a pear-shaped object. So I sped it up into fast mode so that y'all don't have to see me struggle. But it wasn't too bad. I just had to, again, do some relief cuts so that it would lay better. And then I just used my transfer stick. And again, I just transferred it on there. All right, so take a look back, y'all. This is what it looked like before. Now, before I put the transfers on, I did go back and put on a clear coat of weather defense. And look, y'all, I got so much good crackle. I think I only got one chip. And I did add a little bit of a darker green with some DIY's Salty Kiss. But look how pretty this turned out. Oh, I just love this pair. So it really turned out really pretty. I hope you guys liked it. So anyway, that was project number 3. Now for our 4th and final project, y'all. I realized that I haven't done anything for the holiday season, which I usually don't. I usually don't do seasonal type projects because by the time I get around to them, whatever season it is over. But I decided to go ahead and try my hand at doing a seasonal project. So I've had this tray sitting out on my porch forever. I think my sister picked it up for me, or I picked it up at a garage sale. Didn't pay but a couple of dollars for it. But I'm going back to my tried and true paint, and that's DIY paint. So it pretty much will stick to anything. And this tray is kind of made out of some type of pallet wood. So I just kind of sanded it off a little bit. And now I'm going in with DIY's little black dress, and I'm going to give it a coat of black. And I just gave it one coat. So that's all I did here. Adding a little bit of water so that the paint would move a little bit better. And just so you guys know, if you're interested in any of the things you saw me use tonight on this video, you can go to my website. It's www.pecanporchboutique.com. All right, so I decided I wanted to use the waltz stamp. This is an IOD stamp. I get the time so mixed up to when these came out. But this is one of the IOD stamps recent. And so I'm going to be using IOD's white ink to stamp this up. And I've kind of added some tape so that I don't want to get it on those edges. I just want it to go into the middle of this tray. So I've stamped it up now. I'm going to lay it down. I'm going to give it a press in this white ink. And it actually turned out really pretty on this black. So I'm just going to keep doing that till I get that little area filled up. And again, I'm just going to kind of move the tape around so as to not to get the stamp onto the edges of the tray. Okay, now that my stamp is all down and dry, my ink is dry, I'm going to be using a few elements from this year's IOD's Partridge Lane transfer. This is such a cute transfer, y'all. It has like the 12 days of Christmas in little, the little kind of what you would think is an ornament. But I'm going to be using these little houses, some of those little trees, and one of the kind of the ribbons from this transfer. And I decided, y'all, to go ahead and put this transfer down without sealing first. I probably shouldn't have did that. It took me a minute. That's why I put it in fast mode. but it went down anyway. So I've got my trees down. I've got my houses down. I've also added my little ribbon transfer at the top. And now I'm going to be going back and I'm going to be adding some of that little birdie one-step crackle. And I just want to do that up around the edge of this tray. That's where the crackle is going to go. And again, I think if you watch my last video where I used some of this crackle, it's a one-step crackle. You just paint it on, and you can go back and forth as many times as you want with your paintbrush while you're painting on the crackle. The thicker you paint it on, the bigger your cracks will be. The thinner you paint it on, the thinner your cracks will be. The thicker you paint it on, though, the more time it does take to dry. But I'm just going to I got a smaller brush here, and I'm just going to take my crackle, and I'm just going to go along all around the edge of this tray, because that is where I want my crackle to go. I just want to say that I really appreciate y'all's support. I really do. I thank you so much for watching my channel, watching me do my crafts. I really do enjoy it, and I just appreciate that you guys enjoy it too. At least I hope you do. And so I just want to say thank you to everyone out there who has subscribed to my channel, who leaves me a comment, whether it's good or bad. I mean, I can take criticism too. So if you like this particular video, please go ahead, if you don't mind, leave me a thumbs up, leave me a comment, and maybe even think about subscribing to my channel. And if you know someone who may enjoy this type of content too, I would be so happy if you could share it with them as well. That would really help grow my channel. So I thank you all so much for watching. And so now, once this crackle gets to be dry, you want to let it fully dry, completely dry, before you do your contrasting color. So for my contrasting color, I'm going to be using DIY's Marquee, which is this beautiful red color. And I thought it would be good, you know, I think it would kind of go really good with the color of these little houses and that ribbon that I put on here. So I'm going to be using that red color. Now, one thing to note is that once you get your crackle on and you start putting on your contrasting color, you can't go back and forth as you would want to, like that you would typically brush on paint. So that's kind of why you see me I'll do kind of a long stroke first, and then I'll just pick up where that long stroke left off and maybe do another long stroke. The goal here is not to go back and forth, because if you do that, your crackle will reactivate and it will peel your paint off. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going to go all around the frame of this tray with my Marquee red, and I'm just going to wait on that crackle. Once my crackle arrives and everything is dry, I will be sealing up this entire piece with DIY's liquid patina. Okay, quick look back at this plain little tray, and look at what we have now, y'all. My contribution to this season has begun. Look at that crackle. It turned out so pretty. I love how this turned out. Once again, I thank you guys so much for watching. Until we meet again, don't forget to bud, bloom, and be unique. Bye-bye.